Okay, we'll get right on to conduct of business, item 10A and 10B. What we're going to do is kind of a hybrid this evening for informational purposes. We're going to have Carrie give us an overview of both parks, and then we're going to have separate votes when it comes up. So, Carrie, you're on.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm very pleased to present for the City Council's approval contracts for the construction of both the Earl Glenview Park and the Florida Avenue Park. My comments tonight will provide some general remarks. I will then provide separately remarks about each park project. Staff is requesting that the City Council take action on each individual park as they're presented. It's not often that the city, or any city, has an opportunity to deliver one, let alone two new parks to the community, and tonight is a very exciting milestone. The vision for these two parks was created through the passionate input of the residents within the neighborhoods to be served by the park, specifically Florida and its surrounding area and the Glenview neighborhood. They were professionally designed to incorporate features and equipment to ensure a wide array of opportunities for play, relaxation, and socializing. The Earl Glenview Park, with its expanded footprint, replaces the park destroyed in the tragic September 9, 2010 PG&E explosion and fire. The Florida Avenue Park offers much-needed open and active space to a densely populated and underserved neighborhood. Both parks offer play equipment for children of all ages, active green space and landscaped areas, decorative concrete pathways, and areas for quiet enjoyment of the park. Consistent with the wishes of the two neighborhoods and the other neighborhood parks throughout the city, restrooms, barbecues, and off-street parking facilities are not included in the design of either park. We are pleased to report that the bids received by the city for the construction of both parks came in below the engineer's estimate. With award of construction contracts tonight, staff anticipates both parks' construction will commence in October with completion scheduled for February of next year. I would first like to start with an overview of the Earl Glenview Park. Focusing your attention to the screen behind me, the park serves as a gateway to the neighborhood and will feature a prominent sign at the intersection of Claremont and Glenview Drives, right there. In addition to the amenities discussed earlier, the design ensures landscape buffer between the parks and adjacent residents along this line. And consistent with the request and the neighborhood of the families who lost loved ones in the tragic explosion and fire, the Earl Glenview Park incorporates a memorial overlook into the canyon with 5 distinctive granite seats which will bear bronze plaques in remembrance of the 5 families who lost loved ones as a result of the tragic explosion and fire. One bid received for the Earl Glenview Park was submitted by Elite Landscape Services of Clovis, California. Staff performed a thorough review of the bids submitted, the bid's conformance with the project documents, and the contractor's qualification and references. Based on the favorable results of this review, staff recommends that a construction contract be awarded to Elite Landscape for the construction of the Earl Glenview Park. To ensure continuity, construction management inspection of the Earl Glenview Park will be performed by the city staff currently managing the infrastructure work underway in the Glenview neighborhood. As a result of the bids coming in below the engineer's estimate, the appropriation for the park project can be reduced by approximately $250,000. This concludes my report on just the Earl Glenview Park, and the staff welcomes any questions, comments, or action by the council.
Anything on Earl Glenview? Anything from the public?
Through the chair. What about across the street? What about the Earl?
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Go back. I apologize, I forgot that part. So back to my earlier comment about a buffer between the neighbor and the park. There's landscaping along here, And there's a sports court in this portion of the park, located here.
Okay. Anything else on Earl Glenview?
Right, really quick. On 1701 Earl, and on the other location, neighbors this has been reached out to them. They're comfortable with the vegetation and the buffer, as you call it.
In fact, I spoke with the gentleman, I apologize, I don't remember his name, that lives in that residence. We did discuss the landscape plan. He had two interests. One, that we not plant high trees on the slope, which would impact his view, and that we be mindful of both the nature of the planting and the care of the landscape on the slope.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on Earl Glenview?
Through the-
Marty?
I
Irene?
just had a question. You said that construction will begin in October and hopefully finish in February. That's our rainy season. Is that still a viable schedule?
We anticipate construction of both parks will take 60 working days, and so the schedule that I provided the council assumes some days for rain delays as well as holidays. Hopefully, we will not have as wet a rainy season this year as we did last year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Marty?
What kind of ball court is that? Is it?
So it's a mixed-use sports court. It's intended to provide both a soccer goal and a basketball hoop for children to play with their parents. It's not meant to be a half court or a basketball playing space. The neighborhood specifically requested not to have that. That was probably the single feature in the park's design that had the most robust conversation within the neighborhood. But overall, I would say that the neighborhood felt strongly that this was a good compromise between the people who wanted to be able to play basketball with their children and the people who didn't want there to be a disturbance in the neighborhood.
Is there any fencing to keep that errant ball from going down and getting into the street and down to the bottom of the hill?
So we have designed fencing along this portion of Glenview so that people don't cut across the back of the park.
Got it.
This area is flat and shouldn't create, it slopes back just ever so slightly to the park to prevent, or to the back wall of the park, to prevent balls from coming out onto the street.
Last question, and that's the crosswalk there. It's kind of hard to see right there. Is that the crosswalk?
Correct, at the
Okay.
intersection of Earl and Glenview.
And is there going to be a stop there, or is there a stop there
That is not, there's a stop
on Earl's side?
on this side.
Right. Okay. Maybe the TSPC will see something there at some point, but thank you.
Okay. You come to the podium, please.
Thank you. I don't see any lighting there.
So consistent, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, with how we design neighborhood parks throughout the community, we rely on the placement of streetlights to provide the appropriate safety illumination. The municipal code restricts late use of city parks, and so parks are typically not designed with evening use light, especially for neighborhood parks.
Okay. Anyone else? Carrie, why don't you give us an overview of Florida?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, we're first seeking action on Earl Glenview.
Oh, okay, we can do that, okay. Adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Elite Landscape Construction, Inc. in the amount of $1,047,550 for the Crestmore Neighborhood Reconstruction Earl Glenview Park Project, and approving a construction contingency of $157,133, and approving a total project budget of $1,411,378.
Through the chair,
Ken?
I'd like to introduce the resolution on the proviso that I get invited to the ribbon cutting.
Groundbreaking? Ribbon cutting?
Ribbon cutting. I think I'll be here for the groundbreaking.
Vice Mayor Ibarra,
Aye.
Councilmember Marty Medina,
Aye.
Councilmember Rico Medina,
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell,
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.